Welcome to AiTalks, a place to come and listen to IBM customers, partners and colleagues talk about the digital organization and how AI, hybrid cloud and enterprise software is critical to success. Let me hand over to my colleagues to get us started.
So we're here today to record another of our AI Talks podcast series. And today we have a really great guest, Suresh, from one of our key partners, TCS. Suresh has said to us today that he wants to talk about some of his retail clients and really specifically the importance of order orchestration within the digital world and what he's seeing out there with some of these new retail clients. I'm also joined by one of my colleagues, Tim Hillman. Tim is in our Sterling team and very experienced with retail clients. So to get us started, Suresh, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your role in TCS?
Hey Kylie, hey everyone. I am Suresh Govindasamy, working as a portfolio architect and lead product architect for Sterling Order Management in Tata Consultancy Services. I play a role of a portfolio architect with the retailer in the UK.
That's great. Thanks so much, Suresh, for that intro. When you think about retail clients, what's uppermost on their minds in the context of omnichannel?
Currently, with this pandemic situation or pre-pandemic, our expectation keep changing. We had, I want a delivery, and I changed it to I want this type of delivery, and then changed it to I want this date delivery. Now I want this slot delivery. So it's keep changing. And again, with this pandemic coming into the play, we have got like curbside or contactless, these kind of collections also. So pretty much every retail customers is now looking into their customer experience. Be it a forward fulfillment journey where they how the orders are delivered to the customer, and also how the return journey. Again, return journey is a key for every retailer now. Whenever a customer is happy with their return process, that's when they are going to be more loyal and coming back and buying from the retailers. That's why it's key for them to simplify and as well as keep a transparent return process for the customer as well. So in my view, the retail clients are currently trying to work towards both forward as well as return fulfillment from a customer expectation perspective.
Experience is crucial in my buying and my buying behavior. Following on from that, what would you have changed before the pandemic to enable the customer journey that your clients are striving for?
Before pandemic, again, the customer journeys of same day collection or same day delivery for a brick and mortar setup. And similarly, if it's a pure play online, then coming down to near possible delivery. These would be the areas where, customer journeys would have improved. And the other point, what I'm hearing with this Paris Pact or, the Go Green initiative, and even the customers are nowadays, trying to see, what sort of Go Green initiatives are, carbon emission by the retailers as well. I think that's another key where, if pandemic wasn't there, then, we would have applied some of those, optimized supply chain for fulfilling a customer delivery. Or, we could have proposed a customer to go to a store instead of, getting a home delivery. Vice versa, it depends on, the carbon emission percentage, is going to come out. That would be one of an option, where we would have gone ahead and then proposed.
Customers for the first time really felt the pain of not being able to see all of their stock. So whether they've got buckets of retail stock, B2B stock, online stock, maybe even international franchise, if they can't see it all, then they can't manage it in terms of optimizing the delivery and not disappointing customers. So it's probably a realization about the importance of the visibility of stock across your omni-channel, a pinch point, and they all need to solve that problem quickly. Not just through COVID, but in terms of, to Kylie's point, making the customer journey more seamless. And as you said, curbside pickup or next day delivery or same day delivery, they can't do it without the visibility of stock.
Tim, I think the maturity level is another key, right? So there are retailers have matured enough. They have got entire their estate and as well as their buyer seller side of things as well. And there are people where they do not have a visibility. Definitely where the people in the second group, the inventory visibility is a key. Adding to that, eventually, if you wanted to maximize the benefit, you wanted to start giving some of the stock in transit from supplier, from the warehouse between US, also needs to be onboarded onto this inventory visibility so that you maximize the availability. Because if you start showing out of stock in your website or your aisles are empty, definitely customers are not going to like it. So it is definitely a key. And as well as, once you have that visibility picture in place, it's easy for a retailer to go and then, persuade the customer to buy as well, to give a view that, how many left or, how many can be bought immediately or how many was bought in last 5 minutes. So those options will allow or, persuade the customer to say, yes, this is something, I would need and I don't want to miss it and go and buy. So that is an option as well.
Apparently you've got daughters and you've just got them parrots. How's that like? Is it noisy in your house now with the parrots?
They are like 2 days old at the home at the moment. So we are doing quite a lot of setting up, and then as well as my daughter is so excited to say, and she started reading Harry Potter and then some other books as well to the parakeets, and I was like really, do you need to do that? And she said yes, I need to do that. I need to train them. I need to tame them. So it's a bit noisy, to be honest, and I'm upstairs at the moment, so I don't get to hear that. It's nice to have few other guests at home.
It's nice for your daughter to take on some responsibility looking after wildlife. So one thing I've seen through the pandemic, but also probably I would say the last 2 or 3 years as a trend, not everyone's got big budgets. So they're saying, my back-end systems, do I really need, enterprise ERP system? Do I really need an order management program? Can't I do much more inside my website and just take and manage an order? And, from my personal point of view, headless commerce is a reality, but managing orders is something that is very complex in real time. And I've not seen any website capability anywhere near good enough to do it at scale or with the right checks and balances in place. That's my view. And some people, you would say that, Tim, because you're a Sterling person. But I'm interested in your view of that world about, do I need these other applications to make my world successful for a retailer?
Depends on what sort of organization you are. If you are a small scale retailer, have got a single distribution center, and you're going to sell it from there only. That's when you have such setup, the questions are really valid. But when you have a complex supply chain, or when you have large distribution network where you would have to work out. It's not like that easy to say I have taken an order, now I'm going to send it to a distribution center, and that's going to ship it to the customer home or a locker down there, right? So it's not going to be that easy when you have a complex supply chain. Two, when you're talking about your how deep you wanted to go into the inbound supply chain, that also a major area where nowadays inventory holding cost is something which organizations do not want to invest. So what they would like to do is they would like to receive the goods into the warehouses, and as soon as kind of just in time ship it out immediately, so that you get it from your supplier and you sell it immediately. So that makes the inventory holding cost less, which is again it's a profit for you. And you don't want to miss out. One. Second, and then the online demand have gone, multifold nowadays. If you were like 10 or 20% in your online, and then, suddenly with this pandemic, customer behavior have changed, and then, they started going 50, 60, 70 at times, entire store is shut. So when that happens, eventually, without an order management system or, without an ERP, it's quite hard to make an optimized fulfillment. Plus also, manage the customer expectations in terms of order management related activities, amendments, or, post delivery. So you definitely need an order management there. 10 years back, order management was different. Now it's completely different. And in 10 years down the line, or, even 3 years down the line, it may be completely different. That's when, we have all the new kind of offerings coming up, either from software providers like IBM or others, or even within the organizations, people started thinking about what is going to be housed in order management, what should be housed outside order management to get the agility and then the speed for us to deliver things.
We're having quite a few conversations with companies with big ERPs, and in the bigger ERP customers, they're actually, a lot of them are looking to make sure that they're using the functionality correctly. So if they do have an ERP and they're a larger retailer, is that functionality being correctly deployed, or are they blurring the lines by overdeveloping bespoke applications within it? We're having quite a lot of those conversations as well. Yeah, thank you for your response.
Just knowing that you and the TCS team are involved in so many different retailers and different technologies, what's your view of the role of platforms and AI and the future technology that will innovate supply chain?
Definitely, no one would want to be reactive anymore. as a business, they would wanted to see things proactively. Plus also, start looking into or learning into what happened in the previous season. Then, every retailer do not want to have a kind of, business people who's working with Excel sheet and then, coming back and saying, this is my forecasting, or, this is going to be the sale. So this is how we need to set up this season or, coming season that way. That change in mindset is now already coming up in the business level, which is right. And again, that's where, the AI and future technology is going to support them. Platform is an important role to play because the scalability and availability, these are all the key factors. And you must have seen, loads and loads of retailers, moving from on-prem to cloud. And again, the need for scaling up to support, it was like, 2 or 3% online, moving to 90% online. And definitely, you need massive support from a platform perspective as well. So definitely platform and as well as AI is going to have a major role to play with the retailers. I'll pick up this one offering from IBM as well, right? So Sterling Fulfillment Optimizer is something, we have started talking as a Watson Order Optimizer, and then, currently it's Sterling Fulfillment Optimizer. And, this gives a view to the business to say, when a business ships some orders and, how much they are making now, but, if you work with different kind of, learnings level algorithms, then, what you could make out, if I'm selling a shirt from a store and that store sells like, 10 shirts a day, whereas, the same shirt is sitting in another store, which is like, selling only 2 shirts a day. What I could do is, though, shipping from a store where, 2 shirts being sold is costlier as of today. But again, we could even, very well go out to that store and ship it now and make it as a full price in 20 days time. So eventually, these are the things like, markdown avoidance or, your stock out cases, your delivery options. Like, today it might be cheaper for you to ship it from one node, whereas, that could cost higher delivery charge. So shipping might be cheaper, but the last mile delivery may be higher. So those things would help to basically reap out the benefit of that cost reduction. I think it would be better.
I like what you said there. Just overlaying onto that, so my take is that one of the things when we talk to customers, it's really important about a roadmap for the products that the software solutions that we're offering. And the reason for that is they see that automation, artificial intelligence can play a role in supporting the data points that they want to crunch, because as you said earlier on, you can't do it on spreadsheets. If you do, it's not optimal, it's not sustainable, and it's certainly not going to enhance the customer journey. So we're seeing lots of people take an interest in the roadmaps that we're talking about, not just the product today, but where is it going in the next we publish a roadmap over, we have sort of 18-month roadmaps and 6 months that are pretty fixed. And then we ask retailers to feed into the roadmap, because their knowledge is really important to us developing the right roadmap. But AI is a constant feature of how can you automate and improve it for either the customer journey, costs, or just the data points that they cannot physically cope with. How can we use AI to intelligently understand and make decisions?
Maybe blockchain is another area. It had evolved quite heavily in the finance area. Whereas, I think it makes sense, and then, it can play a major role in supply chain, right? What's your view on that?
I'm not in the financial markets sector, but my colleagues tell me that in that sector, it's pretty well established now as a solid technology that has an application, has found the business problem and helped solve the business problem. So I think in the financial world, I think blockchain is set. In the wider supply chain, and particularly in retail, we've seen an increased conversations in the last 18 months. And the reasons are sustainability and traceability. And we are starting to prove out smaller pilot cases, I would say. So one example would be food trust that IBM has using blockchain, and that sustainably traces salmon from lots of different salmon suppliers around the world. That can be smoked salmon, fresh salmon. But it's dealing with the Baltics, it's dealing with the Scandi countries, and it's dealing with Ireland, actually. And it's about how can you manage all of your suppliers and sustainability. But we still are, I think, proving out the business case. But we have, in the food trust one, we have something that does seem to have value, and everyone or lots of retailers are now talking about it. Obviously, people that sell salmon, of it. Yeah, so I think blockchain is coming. It was a technology looking to find a problem. I think now it knows the problems. It's now does the business case stick up for an ROI? Does it stack up? Is it really adding value? But in sustainability and traceability, I think it's found its mark in retail. So that would be so watch this space is what I'd say. Suresh, it would be my view.
Traceability is a key question in supply chain, right? And that too, when things are being procured from forest and then offshores, definitely the traceability may play a role so that the customer promises can be kept intact. I.e., if there is an order that i.e. purchase order that shortfalls, then eventually that's going to impact on an order that has been taken against. So definitely agree with you. A space to watch for.
I also think that the retailers, it's an area they need to explore and investigate with an open mind and really understand the problem they're solving and the value. But I've got one more question, Suresh, which is time to market for retailers through the COVID period. Do you think when they're making tactical or strategic decisions that retailers have learnt the value of changing their decision process in terms of timelines and timescales? Because everything was a few years ago, it was very RFP, lots of people involved, lots of discussions and meetings. You could argue in some of those cases, the outcome was probably known way down the track, and it took months to get to a decision process. Do you think that a decision process has been they're rethinking how they make decisions to make sure they don't delay what they need in delivery? What's your view on that?
Blueprinting, ideation process itself, it takes its own bit of time. So, which means maybe a blunt statement, but I can make it. Retailers are always 12 to 18 months behind the current trends. That's because of this decision-making slowness. And now with this pandemic, or even prior to that, people have started thinking about why should I wait? And I should start doing prototypes. I should start doing POCs. It can be a bad proposition, but I would want it to try out. So that mindset have started coming up, the agile-driven development and as well as the engineering-led development. So with this in place, eventually people have started appreciating the POC outcomes. So and people are quite happy to fail fast and as well as recover fast. I think that's another way to look at things.
I first heard that coming out of Amazon and people at Apple a few years ago saying, they don't think that when you do something the first time it's going to be perfect. They understand that you're just you start somewhere and it's a journey to make it optimal. But they don't think it's failing. They just think it's the start of the journey, and it's the start of the journey. And even if you do all that planning and processing, when you deploy it, you're going to learn something. You're going to change very quickly. So it's that if you like, it's moving forward all the time with a decision rather than saying that what you've done is wrong. It's enhancing it and optimizing it constantly, which is what you need to do in any business or to stay fresh, right, and relevant.
Agree, definitely. I think definitely this decision making have changed drastically, and I think it's good from a retailer perspective, as well as people like us as well, from a software integrator as well. And earlier, usually work as a delivery partner. Now we are working as a strategic partner with the customer, and then that makes a massive difference where the words or the decisions or the experience whatever we have acquired across everywhere, that is also being used in those conversations, which helps both our customers to reap the benefit out of it, and as well as if we have seen somewhere that this has been implemented and then their business model is this, and then this was an outcome where you could tweak a bit and then implement, and even if it is a tactical you could do that way. And again one point I think everybody have to keep in mind is tactical fixes or tactical solutions are temporary. If that is going to be a model that has to continue even after the pandemic is over, or after certain situation is sorted, there should be a roadmap to making sure that tactical is converted into a strategic one, or otherwise we might be leaving quite a bit of a tech debt and additionally incurring cost around that as well.
You make a very good point. We do try, as you said, to get involved in strategic as well, thinking about the wider architecture and the wider implication. And so my playback on that would be that if they use proof of concepts, or as we call them, garage type operations, so they do it in a tactical proof of concept way, but it has a strategic objective. they can learn a lot in that process, and they can move forward very quickly. You're lining up the right thing. You're not doing something that's left field tactical. You're doing something that's sort of tactically strategic, which is slightly different, right?
So Suresh, thanks so much for all your points today. We know with all your experience that some of the points have been really useful for us to both hear. I think this has been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And again, Tim, thank you also for being involved in this. You've been listening to AI Talks, and I hope you've really enjoyed it. Have a great day.